The Nigerian 2023 general elections have come and gone, but it is true to equally note that the dust it raised is yet to fully settle, especially considering the push and shove that have trailed some outcomes of the exercise. Post-election analysis are still vibrantly echoed on different timelines as the judiciary begins to field pleas and prayers. The nation once again is in the valley between one government and the next, one outgoing, the other incoming, on the road to nation building. Today on Political Update, we will examine the past election and its impact on the nation's political journey, the vagaries of nationhood, and the options in ensuring a truly great state. I am Fisayo Ogunfuyi. Welcome. Politics is not war but a contest where losers must be magnanimous in defeat. It is against this backdrop that a coalition of civil society organizations has condemned comments by some politicians promoting ethnic and religious divisions, which is a threat to national security.
Delegates from 158 anti-corruption civil society and non-governmental organizations, faith-based groups, youth and community-based organizations gathered in Abuja at a one-day national conference to deliberate on the way forward for Nigeria. After exhaustive deliberations, participants expressed concern over the state of the nation, especially divisive tendencies brewing up in some quarters.
In trying to set the format for what is going to happen, we're going to look at ourselves, we're going to look at what we get the right people that can do this job. You know, in the area of security, you get the best house that will do this job. Not because it's, it's from your church or because it's from your tribe and all that. And then you pick it up.
If the wrong person is put in position, then the right people should correct his wrongs and ensure that the rule of law is made to become as sacrosanct as it should be.
Nigerians have a responsibility to prevent, dictate, and expose any form of social ill bedeviling the country, including corruption, the group emphasized.
If corruption is not tackled, a lot of problems bedeviling us will still continue. And that's why we are asking for the rule of law to prevail.
They advised the incoming administration to work hard to ensure that Nigeria remain united in peace and justice to all.
The leadership of the Nigerian police force has reviewed the performance of its personnel during the 2023 general election, highlighting the lessons for future outings. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, at a meeting backed the force's continued collaboration with INEC to prosecute 781 electoral offenders apprehended during the elections.
I have directed that all electoral offenders' case files across all the state commands be submitted to the IGP Secretariat, where a committee will be set up to review and pass these case diaries to the National Electoral Commission. You are also advised to, if you have offenders that are still in custody, you can also grant them bail for reliable sureties until when the issue of prosecution comes up. I must firmly warn that the Nigerian police and other security agencies shall not tolerate the resort to incitement or any act designed to threaten our national security. They are therefore advised in the strongest possible terms to henceforth draw back on current attempts to engender tension within the national security space to avoid attracting appropriate law enforcement response.
I will go to our interview very quickly because our time is not our friend on the program today. Joining us on the interview segment is to discuss the 2023 general election, reviewing it, and other sundry activities which have trailed the exercise. Is Samuel Onuigbo, member representing Ekwa and Omaya North and South Federal Constituency. Thank you for joining us, Honorable Samuel Onuigbo. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much indeed.
Has the 2023 election deepened or weakened our democracy?
Thank you, Fisayo. I think it has helped us, in knowing maybe the fault lines. In a way, I think I'll say that it has helped us to deepen our democracy. Yes, there are challenges that are associated with the last elections, and those challenges cannot be swept under the carpet. We have to address them
it is from that angle that I'm saying that it has indeed helped us to actually deepen our democratic practice, in that those fault lines that have been found, we should be able to address them. From the angle of whether it has helped us to deepen our democratic practice, I think some of the things introduced, in the last elections, electronic transmission of results, which we brought in the Electoral Act 2022, and then this idea of people knowing that, look, if we vote, our votes will actually count. And again, the way we have all responded to some of the challenges, I would like to refer to those things as challenges. The way we have responded, we have shown maturity, we are looking for appropriate legal ways to address some of these issues, even when or where it is very, very obvious. So from that angle, one could say that, yes, it has deepened democratic practice while we are addressing the challenges that have been identified or associated with the 2023 general elections. Do not forget that by this time, we have been lucky to have nearly a quarter of a century of unbroken democratic practice. So this is positive for us, and we have to work on wherever we have challenges so as to be able to move forward.
Okay, Honorable, let's look at your own experience. You participated in this one. But let's look at, the political activities, especially in your state, in terms of logistic deployment and what we eventually found. If we look at Abia State in terms of its geography, in terms of the geographical spread, I'm not sure it's up to a third or a quarter of Kano State, for instance, in terms of the land. How come we are still looking for results from Abia State days after, for instance, Kano had been completely computed? What exactly is wrong? Is the challenge in that terrain? Let me, copy your word, challenge in that terrain that we had to wait so long, for instance, to get results in for the governorship election.
Oh, thank you, Officer. See, when we were working on Electoral Act 2022, fortunately, I was one of the people. I'm a member of the Electoral Committee in the House. But in addition, I was lucky to be nominated as one of the 12 people to do the final review of the clause-by-clause consideration of the provisions before we voted on them. One of the things we discussed extensively and introduced was, one, the electronic transmission. But the other one I would like to mention, because you just asked a question, why Abia, came late, despite the fact that the landmass is not much. That one is on the powers that we have given in Section 65 for INEC to be able to review some of the returns made by the returning officers, especially where there is serious controversy or where people have used their power, raw power, thugs, hoodlums, to force the returning officer, maybe under gunpoint. And the reason why we introduced that was because something happened in one of the states in the southeast, where a senatorial candidate used force, used gun, and got to be declared. And eventually, when INEC, held onto the return certificate of return, it was easy for the person to go and say, there's no law protecting that. So we introduced the ability for the commission to review, especially where people have used force or used gun, or people like as happened in Obingwa, where hoodlums overran the INEC office and caused a lot of trouble. So that is the review that was responsible for that. And it's good, it's to the glory of God that after the review, they made a return for the state. And of course, you saw the outpouring of joy that such a return was made, which means if you had gone the other way based on what was done initially, I don't think we'll be having some peace there in the state today. So that was one of the introductions, and that's in Section 65.
All right, sir, because time is not available, we have to, let's look at some other aspects of it.
Yeah.
We saw, a lot of people making some complaints, and perhaps that is also your experience, the issue of, not finding names on the, voting ballot papers and all that. How do we, reconcile this as well in terms of deepening our processes and learning from, what transpired in the past fortnight and moving forward to make our processes more resilient and perhaps even more flexible to be able to accommodate and troubleshoot once we have some of these challenges?
Well, one thing is clear. Nobody is trying to say that the exercise was perfect. We have not attained perfection. But I did mention that for us to have had, unbroken democratic practice for nearly a quarter of a century, we have made some improvements here and there. But even in my own case, I have an election. I am the APC senatorial candidate for Abuja Central. After the elections, it was a shock to find that the result sheet does not have any APC anywhere in the column where to enter the results. So such a thing is something enough to unsettle you. But we're trying to address that, using appropriate legal processes. But apart from that, there were a few other challenges like logistics not coming early, particularly in the first election. But in the subsequent election, there was a marked improvement. So that's why I have adopted that approach of saying, well, we are moving in the right direction. There have been challenges. We have to work to improve on these challenges so as to continue on our track, which is the track that we are deepening and working to broaden democratic practice and ensure that benefits accrue from it and that everyone is on board and not just for a select few.
All right, let's, there are new governments are coming in the few short months, 2 months to be precise, and at different levels, representatives as well as state and national levels. What will be your word in terms of creating cohesion in the country? How do we bring everybody back to the table and negotiating a greater future for the country?
One thing should be paramount in all we do, which is to have the country to remain intact, to ensure that we have peace, and to also ensure that we give everyone a sense of belonging. That's how to ensure that the peace endures. So moving forward now, those who have won, especially where they have won without unnecessary controversies, they have a duty to engage, embrace those that they defeated. They have to be magnanimous, in victory. And those who have lost, if there are avenues, like there are legal avenues for you to ventilate whatever concerns or challenges that you have, people should be able to use that. But one thing that we would not like to see is a breakdown of law and order. So let me also use this opportunity to appeal to everyone to come to the table, discuss, negotiate, and ensure that we make progress and focus on areas where we have had terrible and avoidable challenges and ensure that we're able to address them for the good of all.
Before I let you go, you're a member of the Ninth Assembly. What is still pending, perhaps, that has tickled your fancy in terms of what the legislations to pull through as you reach your termination point as far as this assembly is concerned?
One of the things I would like to see addressed is the issue of electoral offences bill, which again, fortunately, I'm a member of the Joint Technical Committee working on it. I would like to see that passed and assented to by Mr. President, so as to ensure that even though INEC is allowed to maybe prosecute offenders, INEC hasn't got the resources, the time to be able to handle, this kind of challenge. If you listen to the IG of police in his remarks, he talked about 781 offenders that were arrested. That's a huge number. And the resources for INEC to concentrate and do so many other things. That's why we decided to come up with the electoral offences bill. I would like to see that concluded. We've gone very far with it. I would like to see it concluded, and I would also like to see Mr. President assent to that, so that in the next election in 2027, we'll be able to see less of the trouble that we witnessed in this election, because that way it will be clear that, look, if you do this or do that, these are the offenses that you'll be faced with. It's very important that we have that in place.
Finally, there will still be another set of elections before the year closes in November in Bayelsa and Kogi states. What can we bring forward, learning from our experiences this time around before we let you go?
I would like to see the...
Just 1 minute.
Yeah, the electoral body actually benefits, in a way, from the lapses or the challenges that we face now by correcting them, so that we don't have the scenario of having too many complaints here and there, or so many problems coming out here and there. There should be steady improvement. And that's why we introduce technology. That's why we introduce some of the sections in the provision, even up to the primary election, to ensure that we have something that is almost seamless. I know it's difficult to have that, but something that is near that. That's what we should be working towards. Nearly 25 years of unbroken democratic practice is something we should build upon, and not for us to do a reverse.
All right, we've had Honorable Simon Igbo, member representing Ikwano, Umaya North and West South Federal Constituency, and we also need to congratulate you on that, land-breaking piece of legislation on climate change that was one of the highlights of the 9th Assembly. Thank you for being a part of it, and thank you for being a part of political updates for today. We'll be back. Today has been an abridged version, so we'll be back on Friday with a fuller package. My name is Fisal Gufi, thanking you for staying tuned. Enjoy the rest of your day and keep on watching the Nigerian Television Authority for news, reviews, previews, and interviews. Bye-bye now.